Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar
Jai.
Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Ashram. By Bhagwan's gracious glance upon us, we were able to sing his powerful Nama in his powerful shrine. It's a matter for celebration, for it is no small grace. Bhagwan had often said, when you sing the name, when you chant, when you pronounce the name of a deity, it is the Nami, the one who is named, is present instantly. Once in the Sannadhi Street house, when we were all seated there in the small veranda, Bhagwan was asking some people there if they knew the first two lines in Raghuvamsa. When somebody quoted it, Bhagwan asked for its meaning in English. Every one of us said we didn't know, but there was this lady who knew Sanskrit, and she said it meant just like the word, and its meaning, that they are inseparable. The word and its meaning are inseparable. Just like that, Parvati and Parameshwara are inseparable. Just as the word and its meaning. Then Bhagwan clapped his hand and laughed and said, do you see? The word and its meaning are inseparable. What does it mean? When you chant the name Rama, Rama is instantly present. When you chant the name Krishna, Krishna is instantly present. When you chant the name Shiva, Shiva is instantly present. And when you chant the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar, my father is instantly present. This was his assurance. How do we know? The word and its meaning are inseparable, and they have power. The word has power. How do we know? When you call somebody an angel, you know how pleased they are. Instead, if you call them a donkey or a fox, you know how they will react. After all, both are only words. Why should people react differently? It's because of the meaning. The word and its meaning are inseparable, and it has power. And that's why people react. If an ordinary word has so much power, what to say of a divine name? It has all the power, all the grace of the divine. So remembering this, we have to chant the name in such a way that Bhagwan is present with us. When I chant the name, he is present immediately, which means he is aware of my thoughts, my prayers. Then why is that? We do not know, we are not aware of his presence. It's because of our impurity, because of our mind, which is otherwise filled up with other thoughts, does not have the sensitivity to recognize the presence of God. But then, the God knows everything. The God is aware of our feelings, prayers and thoughts. So we have to pray to Bhagwan, please give us this bhava that when we sing your name, let us have the sensitivity to know your presence. Let us be aware of your presence. You are surely present, but let me have this awareness. Please give me the awareness of your presence. But whether we are aware of it or not, he is surely, certainly present. And when he is present, it is his grace that is present, his blessings. Now we shall see today an episode or two where his presence, his grace, how it is present and how it helps, guides and protects the devotees who chant his name. Shri Madhusudhan, a devotee of Yogi Ramsuratkumar, for the past 1 year only, he lives in Vizag with his family, wife and children. He works in a multinational company, a Japanese company, which has its branches in 60, 70 countries. There are 2,000 people working under him. He is one of the vice presidents of the company, IT company. Though he lives in Vizag, they have a house, a big house in Hyderabad. They had rented it out to a good family, a family of Muslims. And unfortunately, for the past 2 years, those people did not pay the rent. They were a good family, very influential family because they belonged to the lineage of Nizam. His wife, the Muslim's wife, is working as a professor in a college. But then the past 2 years, they could not pay the rent. And when they appealed to Shri Madhusudhan, he agreed readily, thinking what could they do? The situation could come to anybody. So he said, it's okay. You pay it when you can. That was very, very generous of him. And then 2 years have passed. Then he thought, Madhusudhan thought, now he should demand. The time has come to ask for this money because he himself needed it. So when he approached the tenant in Hyderabad about this money, the rental, Suddenly the Muslim had turned aggressive. Instead of begging forgiveness for not paying it, he began to say, "Why do you ask me? I will not give you. I've been living here for quite some time, and you can do what you like. Now this has become my property. I will not pay you any rent, not even a paisa." He spoke very aggressively and challengingly, which very much upset Shri Madhusudhan. You can imagine their plight because they needed the money. The times are like this now. So they had been very generous, extraordinarily generous, not taking the rent for the past 2 years. And they never imagined in the wildest of their dreams that this man would turn aggressive and would speak in this manner. So the husband and wife, Shri Madhusudhan and his wife, were so upset. They did not know what to do, they were confused. Of course, they could resort to the court procedure and all that. But the added element that upset them was one of the things that the Muslims said. The tenant said, "This is my house. I have lived for so long. It is my house. I don't have to pay you any rent." How dared he say that? Now that upset him so much. He was afraid, he was confused because it is their ancestral property. His grandfather, his grandfather's father, the great-grandfather had left it for his descendants, and now this itself is at stake. And then he knew there was only one way to approach the problem. He and his wife sat before the picture of Bhagwan, Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar. With folded hands and streaming tears, they appealed, chanting the name. "Bhagwan, it doesn't matter if they don't give us the 3.5 lakhs, 4 lakhs. But let us have our property, our ancestral property, because of our fine sentiments. We need it. Please help, please guide us, please protect us." Because the man had said that he would go to the court if necessary. Of course, there was no base at all for this case, but still he threatened. Now the whole day, both Madhusudhan and his wife kept chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama and praying and praying and praying. Madhusudhan said he could not sleep the whole night, thinking, what if they lost the property? He felt it was his responsibility to keep it for his descendants. So again, more chanting and more prayer. And the next day dawned, and there was no hope in the heart, but there was this name in the heart. And because of the name, they felt a strange peace, but the thought was also very disturbing that they had to do something immediately. What could they do except chant the name? At about 9 o'clock in the morning, he got a message in his WhatsApp. His tenant said in the message, "Please call me, I would like to talk to you." Now Madhusudhan was more disturbed than before because the man might throw more threats. He did not know what to do, but then he thought, he would try. Again he prayed, chanted Bhagwan's name and spoke. It was a turnaround. The man on the other end said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Madhusudhan, for all that I said. Please forgive me. I don't know what happened to me at that time. I should not have said all that. I apologize profusely. And what's more, I promise you I would pay back all those rents, all that money that I owe to you in a few months, starting from this month, right away." Now, you can imagine how overwhelming it should have been to Shri Madhusudhan. He was flabbergasted. He ran to his wife and said, "Just see what Bhagwan has done. What a turnaround. Just chanting the name, seeking his help, has brought about such transformation in the other man." And he said, Madhusudhan said, what's more, he started to send money to prove his word. Sometimes twice in a month. So you see, again and again, Bhagwan is proving what his Nama could do to people in difficulties. But the least we can do is seek it by chanting the name, by praying to him, by being in touch, soulfully, intensely. That's very important. And what's more, once you get the help to come out of it, remember it, talk about it, spread his glory. The least you can do about it. Shri Madhusudhan was here for the past few days, staying outside and coming to the ashram to chant with us every day. He left only this morning. So you see, the turnarounds of life could come only by the grace of God. I remember another incident. I think probably it was 1.5 years back. Now it's 9 months COVID. So probably another 9 months before that. A couple had come, one Vanita and her husband Mariappan. That's an interesting story about Mariappan. He is an auto driver. But he was given to this drinking heavily. All that money that he earned was drained in that. So much so, there was nothing at all left for the family. They have 2 daughters. Imagine Vanita's plight. But she managed somehow, but she was crying all the time to Bhagwan, and then she started with a prayer that my husband must change, must be freed from this habit. And she was chanting and writing and chanting and writing very vigorously and rigorously, that within a few months there was a definite change in Mariappan. And slowly, we do not know what really happened, but he changed, and at one point he gave up drinking completely. This is unheard of. A man who was drowned in this drink, how could he easily come out like this? But it happened, the miracle. And this Mariappan also had come that day. He also said, "Ma, I started telling the other drivers and other people, my friends, who are given to this habit. I keep telling them to chant Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama because after I saw how Vanita was suffering and how she was chanting the name and she kept on calling me to come to the ashram, I never obeyed before, but then suddenly one day the change came over and I felt like coming, but still I was not very interested. Nonchalantly I came, but after I entered the ashram, something happened. Slowly, Bhagwan and his name began to take root in me. And after that, it was much easier to give up this habit. Now I am a champion for his Nama, and I go about it to all my friends how to give up this habit. Now Vanita had another episode to narrate. She said, Amma, recently, after he gave up this habit, there was enough money and we could slowly build a house in our village. And there was this plot next door. We were very careful, we measured carefully and we built the compound wall within our property, within our land. But one day, the neighbor, the next door landowner, turned up and then he spoke very roughly. He said, how dare you build a compound wall in my property, in my land? I'm going to break the wall down. What's more, I will go to the court. They tried to explain that it was well within the limits of their land and there was no transgress. But he would not listen, he became very abusive, he was also drunk, and he would every day, Vanita said, day after day, he would come to their doorstep and then start shouting. Such abuse, such filth. She would run inside and close her ears and start praying. All through this, she was chanting and writing because she had no other court. She could not go to the court. They don't have that kind of money. The only way left was Bhagwan, and what more one can ask for. So she began to chant. But in spite of her chanting, this was going on day after day. This man would come. He had made it a habit. And her chanting the name also assumed momentum. And all the time she was praying, crying and praying. And suddenly one day this man came, and instead of standing outside and shouting, he started to come inside. He came into the drawing room. Now Vanita was terrified, afraid that he might even attack her physically. And again she started, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, please save me. But that man, they turned round, he folded his hands and said, Amma, please forgive me for all that I did. I'm so sorry. I have changed now. I will compensate for what I have done. I will not do this to you again. I promise. Please don't be afraid. I will not do this kind of aggression anymore. Please forgive me. And then he left before she could say anything. And she could not believe that this man really came into the drawing room and spoke such words. What a transformation. She had no one to depend upon. She had no strength of money. She had no strength of people or relatives. She had only one strength, and that is the supreme strength of the Nama. And what magic! What transformation, what turnaround. So you see what Nama can do. All these difficulties, all these sufferings come to us because of our previous karmas, the bad karmas. We do not know what we have done in our last birth. Whatever we give to people will definitely come back to us. If it is praise, yes, praise will come to you. If it is abuse, be very sure, at your most vulnerable moment, the abuse would return to you with vengeance. Why would it happen? Even after surrendering to Bhagwan, after holding on to his feet, after taking refuge at his feet, and still such things happen. Why? Bhagwan, who could stop, who could give transformation, who could do the miracle of transformation in the other man, could have even stopped it, could have blessed her in such a way this never happened. No, that they would not do. The great masters, they know that these things happen for our spiritual growth, for our own transformation, and they are based upon our past karmas. But once you surrender to a divine master, 75% of the karmic effect will be removed. At least 20-25% you have to go through. But you learn this lesson. Your faith deepens. Your devotion deepens. And you see the miracle of transformation. The highest miracle. So now, the way the world is today, the cruel grip of this virulent virus, we shall seek Bhagwan's help. Bhagwan, please bestow a huge grace in order to free the entire humanity from this situation, from the pandemic, and bring back normalcy to the entire world. A normalcy with values which have been long forgotten by the world. And of course, the panic which is ruling the hearts of people, not here, not in Tamil Nadu, not in India, but in many, many foreign countries. There is a second wave of this pandemic and a second lockdown. Bhagwan, please remove the panic from the hearts of people and stop the spread of the disease. And please enter the vaccine that could kill this virus instantly without any side effects and would reach the right people, people who need it very badly, who deserve it. And Bhagwan and all those tapasvinis, the action men who are in the field at the very risk of their life, fighting the disease despite all the challenges involved. Please give them protection. And we need a boost to our economy. Kindly back up all the steps taken towards its improvement. And Bhagwan, above all, we seek your blessings again and again for constant remembrance of your name and the attitude of being an instrument, a good instrument in your hands with gratitude. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.